What is happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. So this video is not going to be in the garage. It's going to be my second favorite place to be. Actually, probably my favorite place to be in the house is the kitchen. And I'm going to be showing you guys how to make some just perfect pizza dough. So you can make some pizzas at your house. This recipe is going to be for 3 pizzas. And you can just kind of multiply it out, get the ratios from this video, and make as many as you'd like. Starting out with 7 grams of honey. And you dissolve that with 100 milliliters of warm water. Add a whole packet, 7 grams of yeast. A good quick stir to activate it with the warm water and the sugar. Once you start to see the carbon build up, the bubbles there, you know it's activated. Get yourself some 00 flour. Bread flour is just fine. Go ahead and add 100 grams of that flour there. Give that a nice stir until the mixture is nice and smooth and velvety. And then you're going to want to just make sure you get all the material down into the bottom of the bowl. And then you're going to seal that up and throw it somewhere like the top of the fridge and leave it for about an hour. Now you can just toss it in the fridge at this point, but I like to just make sure that the proof is taking place and you see like about a 4 times increase in size. Now just toss it back in the fridge and leave it overnight.
The next day.
Alright, so we let this sit overnight, and this is kind of like the consistency that you should be looking for. Maybe a little soupier. Go ahead and add 230 milliliters of warm water. Then dissolve the poolish into that warm water. If you have a spice grinder, go ahead and grind up 15 grams of sea salt. Alright, so now that you got your poolish all dissolved up in some warm water, I think it was 230 milliliters of water there. We got 15 grams of salt already measured out in this cup here. And then we're also going to be adding the flour. You got 415 grams of flour. You can give or take a little bit. And then you just divide it into half at first, and then dissolve it into the poolish. So we're going to be doing 2 parts of flour. You're going to dissolve the first part. It's going to be 200 grams. We'll just go with a flat 200 here, and then do the 215 in the other batch. Just go ahead and add that into the poolish, and we're going to dissolve this up just the same way as we dissolved up the poolish into the liquid in the first place. And I'm using bread flour now. I didn't have enough 00, so I figured I would just start it off with the 00 and wrap it up with the bread flour. Alright, so we got this all smoothed out pretty good, and we're going to add the 215 grams of the remaining flour to this mixture. And just like that, you got a nice clean, sterile work environment. Alright, so we got a nice ball of gluten. And we're going to go ahead and let this sit for about an hour. We'll be ready to make some pizza.
So with the weight, you just divide it out by 3 or however many pizzas you want to make, and then that's how you separate up the dough and portion it out properly. After you're done portioning out the dough balls, go ahead and just kind of pull from the outside of the material and push it back up in from the bottom, and repeat that for all. Then just kind of leave them on the baking sheet or whatever you're using to store the pizza dough on, and just kind of let them rise for another hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. It doesn't really matter as long as you're not leaving them out in the open too long that they start to dry out. You can go ahead and throw some olive oil on the outside of them just to kind of maintain the moisture. And then we're going to be making the pizza sauce in the downtime.
So to make the pizza sauce, you just get some of these San Marzano peeled tomatoes in a can right here. And then a little bit of garlic to your liking, a little bit of salt, and some basil to your liking. And then just throw it up in a blender. You want to have like chunks of tomato in there so it's like, it's not watery when you're done. You kind of want some texture to it. So I'm going to go and do that real quick.
Turns out the garlic I had was bad, so I'm just going to sub in some minced garlic and go ahead and blend that up. You got the tomatoes, you got the basil and the garlic, the salt. Give that a couple pulses. I'll probably get crap for saying this in the comments or whatever from any like real pizza snobs if this video goes up, but the remaining pizza sauce, you only need like about half of a bowl like this size to make the 3 pizzas, and the rest I just like to freeze for a later time. I like to use a flimsy, thin cutting board for this next part, and go ahead and dress up your workspace with a little bit of semolina flour. That's going to prevent the dough from sticking to anything, and it will make it really easy to slide on and off of the cutting board. By now your dough balls should have proofed and increased in size by a little bit. They should be really soft and airy. I like to press both sides in to the semolina just to make sure that whatever side I end up putting the toppings on is workable. Then just go ahead and stretch out the dough, let gravity do its thing. Just try to make sure that you don't let any holes pop up in there. And you can stretch this dough out to about 14 to maybe even 16 inches wide. So it's a pretty big, decent sized pizza. And the key to having a nice, airy, crunchy crust on the outside is simply focusing on making the middle part of the dough nice and flat while pushing all the air and the rest of the dough out to the outer edges where the crust is going to be. And you see me do that right about here. I start to pull out the dough and then push from the inside to the out. Now you're just going to go ahead and put a nice thin layer of the sauce down, and you're going to go ahead and par cook it in the oven until you start to feel the dough is being cooked enough that you can pull it back out again. I'll show you that in a second. Now, I'm not sure if I mentioned it in the earlier part of the video, but you want to make sure you have your pizza stone inside the oven at 500 degrees or whatever the highest setting that you can get your oven to for at least an hour before you throw anything on it. That's just going to ensure that whatever you throw on top of it is not going to stick to it, and it will immediately start making a nice crispy crust. So after about like 3 to 5 minutes on the stone, you can go ahead and pull that out. I like to use barbecue tongs so I don't gotta reach my hand up in there. And you see how easy it is to pull that off. That's because of the semolina and the pizza stone are doing its job. Now that we par cooked the pizza with the sauce on it, we can go ahead and dress the edges of the crust with some olive oil. That's gonna just ensure that you get a really nice crispy outer crust. And then you're gonna go ahead and add your toppings in any order you want. This is your pizza. You're making it how you want to make it.
So there you go. There's the crust. Nice and airy and crunchy. Perfect pizza. Alright folks, so that's going to end this little video. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys try it out. It makes a huge mess, but if you're like just a fan of good food, try out my pizza recipe. Not everyone likes 30-year-old Hondas, you know, but everyone likes pizza, right? So enjoy that, take that with you, and share with your friends if you like the recipe. And I'll catch you in the next one when we're doing some body work like I promised. Peace out. Oh yeah, one last thing. I made dinner, so you guys gotta clean up.